Hi everybody. Another live with Rania today. And please, if you're here, go ahead and say something in the comments or just like the post so I make sure that you can hear us and see us. And I want to introduce my guest today. Today I have Mona Mandour with me. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself, but she's a certified health coach with a story about how she got where she is today. And today she's going to talk to us about 3 easy ways to build healthy habits as entrepreneurs. So again, let me know if you can hear us. And Mona, please take it away.
Hi, Rania. Hi, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be with you today and talk all about health and fitness and entrepreneurship. Thank you, Rania, so much for this opportunity.
You're welcome. I'm really happy you're here. I love the topic. And actually, Mona and I met on Clubhouse. So you're one of my Clubhouse wins. And it was nice. I don't know, it was a chat and you happened to come in and we just started talking. I think we ended up talking for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It was really funny. And we had a lot of, a lot of things to share. And then from there, I was like, hey, why don't you go live with me on Facebook? And then here we are. So it's nice how things like that work out.
It
So
is.
thanks for joining us today. And why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about yourself and how did you get to do what you're currently doing?
Yeah. Well, it's been a long journey. So, you know, I had always wanted to be in corporate, and I'm a hard worker. You know, those kinds of people who are like trying to get the grades and getting the highest marks and that kind of thing. So when I graduated from college, that's really, I automatically expected myself to just jump into corporate and just go up the corporate ladder, and that's going to be my life. But then about maybe 15 years into my corporate life, I was like totally confused because at that time I had put on weight, I wasn't working out, and I wasn't productive, and everything felt like it was breaking apart. Although my work was really good, I had a good job, I had a good career. I was working in Citibank at that time, and it was like the best place to be working. So logically, I had nothing to complain about, but physically and mentally, I was totally drained and I had no idea where this is coming from. So the first thing I did at that time was I got another job in another bank. So I thought, yeah, maybe I'm just drained because of I had been at Citibank for a long time. So I thought maybe changing jobs is the reason. So when I changed jobs, I still had that issue nagging. And so I started my journey into meditation. I thought, I'll just calm myself down. And I studied meditation. I did the transcendental meditation, and I went to advanced city program, and I did all that direction. And that led me to studying about life coaching, NLP. And I'd study everything to the end because I'm the good girl, And, and so through this journey, I realized that there are a few things that were really holding me back. The first one is that feeling that I'm not enough. So that was like the big umbrella that I'm trying to do so much because I think or I believed deep down that I just need to do some more. I just need to study something else. I just need to do this. And, I'm still not good enough.
Mhm.
And that was like the real theme that was happening inside my head. And so I put like the final touches on this journey by studying health coaching because I wanted to know how I really like the science behind things. So I wanted to know what is the best way to approach health in a balanced way. So I
Yeah.
did the health coaching certification, and I eventually stopped corporate life, and I'm now focused totally on health coaching. And I started my business about 4 years ago, where I help women to break out of this mainly dieting cycle, because that is one aspect. I wanted to niche down into a specific niche, which is weight loss for women who go into yo-yo diets
Mhm.
and keep dieting and then gaining weight back and then dieting again. So I wanted to help them realize that the problem is in that I'm not enough, which is the real core of self-love. And so that's what I'm doing right now.
Wonderful. I love that. I love that. And I love that you recognized what isn't working for you and took action to do something that you enjoy and something that you love, that actually lights you up, and not just settle, for the corporate life if it wasn't working for you. Obviously, if it works for people, that's great, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. And yeah, and you did something about that, and you're doing something that excites you obviously now, and I think that there's a lot of need for. So, and you're absolutely right. I love that you talk about not good enough, because not good enough was one of my beliefs as well for the longest time. And I didn't know that. Of course, I didn't know I had that belief, but it was the belief behind most of my decisions, and why I also felt kind of stuck in my career, and constantly running and thinking that I have to prove myself, and being exhausted and never feeling that anything I ever accomplished was enough. And I was going to stay that way probably for the rest of my life had I not did the deep level work. And so that's what it's, that journey of self-discovery, of self-love. That is that's the basics for everything. It's the starting point for anything. So if we can just give that message out right now, since you mentioned that today, anything that you guys are facing in terms of challenges and problems in life, start with, if you haven't already, that journey of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-love. Because through that journey, you can unravel so much, and you can find out so much of what's inside you that actually is holding you back. You may not be aware of it. So I was self-sabotaging for 25 years. I just wasn't aware of that. So I think the awareness is the first step. Acceptance would be the second step, and then deciding, okay, what would I rather be or do, and then work towards that. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, and
Thank
it's
you.
great to have you here today. And so today you're going to be telling us about 3 easy ways to build healthy habits as an entrepreneur. So it's interesting that the topic as well is specific to entrepreneurs, which is interesting for me. So I don't know if I'm cornering you, but what's the difference between building healthy habits in general or building healthy habits as an entrepreneur? What would you tell us?
Okay, being an entrepreneur, so building healthy habits in general, it's mostly the same thing. But what I've done for today's talk is tweaked it a little bit to take into consideration some challenges an entrepreneur would have. So if you're in a corporate job or in a regular full-time job, you would probably have certain times that you're working. You've got like check-in time and check-out time. You've got weekends and certain structure around your day that is dictated by the organization you're working at. But when you're an entrepreneur, it's like you're continuously working. It's like 24/7, and there are no breaks, and you're always thinking of new ways to up level your work, or a new project you're thinking of launching. It's like that mode of really involved in your work, and that unfortunately creates let's say a challenge of not taking care of yourself, because you're so involved in that project, in your work, and you want to make it happen, and there are a lot of stresses that come with that. So that's why the let's say the adjustment I've had is to have that in mind when I'm sharing those tips, because it really does make a difference if you're if you're employed, and you
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
you've got
you're
this.
absolutely right. You're right. It's just like, I guess, because I've been an entrepreneur for like 28 years, so I forgot what it was like. I was employed for like about a year and a half, but I really forgot. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's we take our work home. It's not, you don't leave your work behind you. So your work is it's part of what you do, who you are, kind of. Of course, I kind of broke out of that cycle a few years ago, so that I actually find now my lifestyle is far more relaxed than the typical employee. But for the longest time, my lifestyle as an entrepreneur was kind of overworked and busy all the time and working long hours and missing out on things with family. And I turned it all around so that I work far fewer hours and actually get a lot more done. But that was a journey. But most people, you're right, are, especially if they're startups or especially in the first few years of their journey, and also especially if they're kind of still with the mindset that, things have to be hard, or that, I have to be busy to be important, or that, I'm not maybe open to receiving. I need to be doing things all the time. One of my biggest learnings was we don't have to be doing things all the time. We're human beings, we're not human doings. And sometimes you can be, and you can just enjoy, and you can be still. And surprisingly, when you do more of that still work, you actually unravel so many things, so many resources actually that you have inside you, and you resolve that whole good enough thing, which actually tends to be what holds you back. And so you don't need to be running. You can slow down and actually go a lot further, and actually it's one of the things on my Clubhouse profile, because everybody on Clubhouse was asking me, how do you pronounce your name? So I finally wrote Rania, and I realized I have got run in my name. And so I actually use that now in what I do. I say I help women coaches and speakers learn how to run without running and get further than ever before, and then I continue and I say, how? By saying yes to themselves. So when we do that, when we say yes to ourselves, you know what, I'm good enough. You know what, I don't have to do this. So what do I want to do? Let me just focus on what I want to do, and to know that I'm deserving, to know that I'm good enough. And then things open up and you actually start receiving when when you feel deserving. So anyway, let me not digress. Let's go back to our talking points.
Yeah.
Wait, we have Rebecca says, hello from Canada. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi,
Thanks for
Rebecca.
joining. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them and we'll make sure that Mona will answer them. So absolutely right. There is a difference between what you might want to say to an entrepreneur or to somebody who's employed full-time in terms of how to infuse healthy habits into their day. So what's the first tip you have for us?
Yeah, actually, our discussion about doing less to accomplish more is one of the meditation messages that we always hear. And this brings us to the first tip. So it actually flows naturally. And the first tip is is organizing your health priorities. Making your health a priority is the first step. And that is just as we're scheduling regular times for meetings or presentations or going live, that kind of thing. We also need to schedule in breaks for sleeping, like you need to make sure that you're sleeping on time, drinking enough water. So you've got water breaks that you actually, great, that you actually put in your calendar, and making sure you've got an eating plan. So you just what ends up happening also is either you forget to eat totally and then suddenly you're famished, so you just end up overeating, and that actually slows your metabolism, makes you sluggish, and can actually hamper your productivity. So instead of feeling refreshed and let's say creative, and you're so energetic, if you are not eating enough and you get that spike of sudden food intake, that actually can bring you back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's the
wonderful.
first.
Yeah. So scheduling in the prioritizing health, prioritizing yourself, of course, will help you
Yes,
prioritize your health. And then making health a priority means actually putting it in your day, scheduling
yeah,
time for it, taking it as seriously as you take other things, because it's important.
exactly,
So
exactly.
sleeping, you talked about water, you talked about, well, obviously having the right kinds of foods actually available to you and around you. It really does make a difference. Instead of having to figure out, okay, what am I going to do now? You just go raid the fridge. It really helps to sort of plan it out. Like I know what I'm going to be having for breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Yes,
And then what about, did you talk about movement? I don't want to call it exercise. I
that's
prefer
the
to call it
second
movement.
tip. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
second. Because the second tip is actually, again, I'm not talking about weight loss or that kind of thing. I'm really talking about taking mental breaks. Taking breaks for mental rejuvenation, and that happens through fitness. So fitness doesn't have to mean, of course, if you love going to the gym, or you love running or that kind of thing, great, just keep doing it and make sure you've got it done. But if you are a person who hasn't been working out for a while and has sort of, dropped off fitness or something, you still need to move your body. So moving the body can actually be stretches while you're sitting down. So like just raising your arms, you know circles, arm circles, yeah, hugging yourself, that kind of thing, twisting, moving your wrists, that kind of thing needs to be done regularly. The other thing is just standing up and marching in place for about 2-3 minutes, and infusing movement throughout your day. So if you take the stairs, it's always better than the lift. Walking instead of parking right at the spot you're going to, that kind of thing. Sometimes people tell me, yeah, Mona, we know all this stuff, yeah, we've heard this so many times, but the problem is people don't do it. So even though you know it, you're still not doing it. So it's important to actually make a decision that I will be moving every day. And that movement doesn't need to be more than 5 minutes initially. And then you can add on to it as you go along, because energy brings energy and movement brings movement. And that movement, not only does it enhance the brain juices and you become more creative, but it also makes your body flexible. And with body flexibility, there comes mental flexibility as well.
Yeah.
So if you get used to having those 5 minutes or that fitness infused, you can maybe start doing sun salutations. There are tons of videos on YouTube to show you how to do sun salutations. They're a very easy series of yoga steps that are very good to do in the morning, because they actually open up your body to start the activities of the day, and so you become energized. It's like caffeine free shot of caffeine.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, and you're right, because those are also valuable because they include the breath. And so
Yes.
most yoga really focuses also on breath, and breath is really important. We don't think enough about the power of breathing. I mean, that's what keeps us alive. So breath and water, those are so important. But so I love that we start our day. If you start your day with slow breathing with movement, then yeah, that's a great way to start the day. Yeah, I really love
Yeah.
that you're reminding us of some of these things. They are important, and I'm somebody who's definitely been guilty for the longest time of neglecting that whole aspect of my life. And I used to. I just want to say that I used to use excuses. So if you're using excuses, just please own that they're excuses, because I was a runner. Okay, so run is just not my name, and it's not just what I was doing to myself, overworking myself at work. I was actually a runner. So I was a runner. I used to be in tournaments and things like that up until I was about 21. And then I stopped completely, and I kind of did nothing else for like 25 years. So nothing, almost nothing. Maybe there was a year when I did a little bit here or there, but for in general, nothing. And I spent about 10 or 15 years saying that, oh, I don't have time to exercise. Oh, I don't have time to exercise. And I know all the science behind it. I know I should be doing it, but I just kept saying I don't have time to exercise until I'll just say a really quick story.
Yeah.
Until I went to Turkey for like a month. Okay. We were in this house in Turkey that next to it, it's like a compound, literally 20 meters outside of my apartment. There was a gym and a pool. Okay. And I lived there for a month. I didn't use them once, not even once. Well, once I might have gone to the pool just to just get wet and play with the kids. I didn't exercise or move. I just stood in the water. The gym, I didn't go near it. I did nothing for a month. And that was really important, because then finally it taught me to stop saying I don't have time to exercise, because I was like, Rania, you had plenty of time to exercise. So just admit to yourself that you didn't want to. You just don't want to do it. And you know what happened when I admitted that I just don't want to do it? What happened is that I let go of the excuse, and then I was able to move from there on and say, okay, what do I want to do? And for me, the answer was walking. It's like, okay, you know what? I just want to walk. And that's when I started walking. So I did a lot of walking that time. Of course, then I ditched walking for 5 years. I don't know why, but walking is still my favorite thing. And now I actually go out and walk every day. But that's because I came back from a whole detox and fitness retreat, which I went on that retreat because I noticed that I'm really, really, my health is deteriorating. I was eating terribly. I was allowing things to stress me out. I wasn't moving at all. In fact, when I filled out the form for this retreat, it was really funny because they only gave you 3 choices for the activity level. So it said like low activity or moderate, or like you do a lot. And I was like, where does it say no activity? Because that's what's I wanted to write like no. There's my choice isn't here. And then they're like swimming, tennis. They gave you tons of choices. I just put other because the only thing I was exercising was my mouth. For the last year, I was either talking or eating. So, but I went on this retreat, and it was brilliant because I really broke through some limits that I had. First of all, I went on this retreat and I thought, maybe I wouldn't be able to do much. That's okay. I'm just going to do my best. But my best was good enough. It really was. I would wake up in the morning and do an hour of fitness training that I never thought I could do. And there was yoga and there was Pilates every day. And we were only on like a 900-calorie diet. All we would have was a smoothie for breakfast, a smoothie for lunch, and a soup for dinner. That's it. And despite that, with just tons of water, you could actually do an hour of training before your breakfast smoothie. We don't need all the stuff that we put in our bodies. I had so much energy. I did so much exercise and I felt strong and healthy. And this wrist, I've been suffering for 7 months with what I thought was carpal tunnel syndrome. And then it turned out to be like tendonitis. And then they basically said, your muscles are weak. And I had it like a brace. There I did the opposite. I started exercising it. Of course, I was careful, but I started exercising, working out, and my wrist is so much better from using it, not from resting it. Because I had obviously rested it enough and that didn't work. So because you said something about that as well. I don't know what it was you said, but when we move things, I don't know, what did you say? But it brought back life to my body. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like when we move our bodies, we move our minds, and it's just, but
Yeah,
it's
but
maybe
that's
that's
it. Yeah. But you're right, because we move our, see, what happened is that my mindset changed from this old person who's falling apart, who has now has weak wrists and who never moves and who's not athletic. And I just shifted my image of myself. I suddenly was this person who eats healthy and is full of energy and can do so much exercise on so few, meals. And I felt strong. So yeah, it affected my mind. And then my mind, of course, the mind and body connection is super strong. So then my mind affected my body. And then it's a vicious good cycle to be in.
yeah.
So it starts with just adding, infusing any amount of good stuff into your day in terms of more water. First thing I did, first of all, by the way, I don't know why I'm talking a lot about myself today, but you're inspiring me. But before I went on this retreat, I used to drink like just half a bottle of water, which is ridiculous. I drink at least 3 now, just because I have this boost, of eating healthy. When you just start anywhere, wherever that is, it's just take baby steps, but there's progress. You just keep adding whatever you can do. And if you think you don't have time at all, okay, do you have time for 1 minute? Do you have time for 2 minutes? Just meet yourself where you are, right? And just do whatever you can do now. Forget what you can't do and do whatever you can. Anyway, yeah, back to you.
Yeah,
So
that is really spot on, because then if you just appreciate that you've done 1 minute and you celebrate, there's something that happens in our brains, and that is trying to look for ways to do that again, so that you do that celebration again, and then you constantly keep growing out of that. So that, because you're starting to realize that this happened. And there's another part or face of the coin on the other side, is the fact that if you struggle, or if you hit like a road bump along the way, this is just a road bump. You just keep going. It's okay. We can learn from our mistakes. Like, for example, let's say tomorrow you only drink half a bottle again. Instead of like looking, oh my God, I've relapsed. No, you just look at it as, okay, what happened today that made me only drink half a bottle of water? Maybe there's something in the scheduling, maybe you were too busy. So you think of ways then for the following day to make sure you get that three bottles in, through maybe making changes during the day, so that you like give yourself the environment that enhances the fact that you'll follow the habit.
Yes, yes, yes. You just remind me of a couple of things. First of all, hi, Mona. Mona Matki says, hello, beautiful ladies. Hello, beautiful Mona. Yes, three things that came to my mind. Number one, absolutely. What happens is that you create evidence of success. We create evidence for success for whatever we're thinking. If we're thinking that, I can't do this, whatever, you're going to create evidence of success for that sort of negative or limiting thought. If you find any positive success and you start celebrating it, then you change your thought, and then you start creating evidence of success for that positive thought. Then that becomes your reality, because in the end, our thoughts become our reality, right? And we get what we focus on. So when we start focusing on, hey, I can do this. Hey, wow, this is awesome. I felt like that's it for me. First of all, I put on like 15 kilograms. I felt like my body's falling apart. And now I feel rejuvenated. And it's only because I had evidence of success that, hey, I'm not so bad after all. And then I started believing that. So it doesn't matter where you are. And it doesn't matter, of course, what you said is, doesn't matter if one day you don't do, whatever you had done the day before. So what? It is what it is. Just be careful not to attach meanings to things. It doesn't mean that, oh my God, everything is lost. Oh, now I'm back to where I was. It doesn't mean anything. So forget attaching meanings, because events don't have meanings in and of themselves. We attach the meaning. So don't give it a big meaning. Just, it is what it is. Today didn't happen. Tomorrow is a new day. And tomorrow I can decide what I want to do. And that's it. So yes, I love that. And you said something else as well. You have all these wonderful things that are giving me ideas. Do you remember the last thing you said? Oh,
I
yes.
was talking about,
Yes, no, you were talking about sort of, kind of, or that's how I interpreted it, setting yourself up for success through your environment. So do you know why I'm drinking three of these? Is because one of these I got as a gift on my retreat. The other one I already had. So what happened when I came back, as it turned out, that I just find it rather annoying to have to, this is a really first world problem, I get it, but I'm not judging myself, okay? But I find it annoying to have to go and fill it up from the fridge. To me, that's what stops me from drinking a lot of water, because I have to go all the way to the fridge and fill it up. So what I do now is I've got 2 bottles filled up at all times. So all I need to do is have the 2 next to me. And then at some point in the day, I go fill up the 2. So for me, what works for me is to have more water around me, so that it'll allow me to drink, if you see what I mean. That was my way of actually being able to drink water. Because if it was going to be, oh God, I have to keep back and forth to the kitchen, it didn't work. Of course, alternatively, you could just have a bigger thing, but I just happen to have those and I like them. So, but whatever works for you, and it's really has to be whatever works for you. Okay.
Yeah. So just before we move on to the last point, the point about breathing is in itself an exercise. So you're exercising your lungs and you're activating your whole body by filling it up with oxygen. So breathing is very, very, very important, because not only is it healthy, but also it activates the neural systems that release the stress. So you become less stressed and more present. And this is so useful during our day as entrepreneurs and people who want to get things happening, because you're always like worried, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? So just sitting and breathing doesn't have to be like a complicated thing. It's just closing your eyes and just going with your breath, for a few minutes. That's all you need to do, at least at the beginning. When you start getting used to that, you can always add more things. It's called pranayama. If you search on YouTube on pranayama for beginners, because that's where you want to start, and that's perfectly fine. We're all beginners at different points in our lives. So just find beginner pranayama, and you'll find a lot of more different techniques. But you could always start with just breathing while you're sitting down. Just have your back straight and just keep breathing slowly while closing your eyes.
Yeah.
That's it. So let me go to the third point, if you guys are ready, and that is building a routine. So building a routine means that I have a set schedule for everything that I'm doing. You know, having our brains get used to a certain habit of, let's say, you're drinking water at the same time, you're waking up at the same exact time. Let it be 7 a.m., 6, whatever time you choose. Just make sure you wake up at exactly the same time. Nothing to do with weekends or whatever. And then sleeping at exactly the same time, eating at exactly the same time. Trying to get that habit makes our bodies automatically respond by following this time schedule. Of course, it's not going to happen from day one, but having that in the back of our minds, with knowing that we need to regulate, or it's beneficial for us to regulate our and organize our days, get our foods planned, get our water, you know, the first two tips, getting our exercise in check, and then making sure that we stick to a certain regular schedule that we follow day in, day out, and building that routine. Some people feel, I don't like routine, but you know what? We are in a routine. Even um, if you feel you don't like, you know, get bored from routine, it's not. You are following a certain routine if you track it. So just switching it up to make sure that you integrate all these healthy habits.
Yeah. No, I think that's very valid. I was just trying to think, is there another word we could replace routine with for people who are kind of resistant to the idea, but I didn't come up with one. But yeah, I mean, it's just,
I know, I thought of that too. I wanted to think of another word because
I
of
mean,
the
it could
negative
be a
connotation, but
lifestyle.
honestly,
It could be a lifestyle. I mean, this is what I do. And I tend to wake up around,
schedule.
not around. I'm saying at this time. What did you say?
Schedule, like schedule it so that it's on in a fixed time, you know, like, you know, a repeated event.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I
because
understand what
that's
you're saying is that then we're more likely to be, it's more sustainable. What you're saying is it's more sustainable if you actually schedule it in so that your body will get used to getting that many hours of sleep instead of some days I stay up and some days I wake up early and some days whatever. So then I'm not consistently getting what I need. So for it to be consistent and sustainable, you're saying schedule it
I,
in.
yeah, and I love that. I actually I prefer that to routine, being consistent.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's yeah.
I
And
think
even
that would be a better
yeah,
replacement.
that's a good word, consistency. And maybe what we talk about as in terms of our happiness practices and things like that is just taking, we call it taking committed action. So
Yeah.
basically, are you interested in doing this or are you committed to doing this? If you're interested, if you're only interested in doing this, then your actions will show that and you'll be sort of haphazard about it and not taking it very seriously. But if you're committed to doing this, then the commitment means being consistent. Taking
Yes.
committed, consistent action is what's going to get you results. And as with anything, and that's what applies with practices like gratitude or forgiveness or anything, as with anything, it's a practice. And you just start wherever you are. There's no good or bad. It doesn't matter if you're 80 years old and you still haven't done any of this stuff, but you want to start today. It doesn't, nothing matters. What matters is what you decide today. Start wherever you want, however small you want, and take tiny, tiny steps. You can even add just 10 seconds a day, whatever. I mean, if it's about exercising or about breathing, and then that's it. And celebrate every day, and then, yeah, incorporate it into your life as slowly as you want, but consistently,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly,
Yeah, I think
exactly.
that's spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, with all of the stuff, it's the reason why I believe it's really important to integrate these things is really because your well-being, or our well-being, is what drives our work, our life. So if our well-being is not well maintained,
Yeah.
then we won't be able to produce anything in life, be it fun, be it work, be it enjoyment. If we don't have that foundation in place, it's going to be very difficult to really enjoy life. And
Yeah.
that's really what happiness is all about.
Yes, it is. Do you guys have any questions? If you have any, please put them in now because we're going to be closing soon. So just to write them in now if you do, or any comments or anything, or maybe you don't agree with something. Just feel free to
Yeah.
share anything. You just said something as well. Whenever you say something, I feel like, okay, this is what I want to say. What were you just saying?
No, I was just saying that it just fell. Oh
I
my
forgot.
God.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It will come. But you reminded
Yeah,
me of something that.
yeah, I was saying it's all about happiness. I mean, having that base of
Yes,
activity.
yes. Oh, I remember. Sorry. What I wanted to say as well, which is the one, maybe one thing you didn't mention, which I think is also really important for people, is your relationships as well. I mean, what Mona was saying is that it's going to affect everything in your life, and it'll affect your relationships. And I think for many of us, that's kind of a focal point because our relationship, whether it's it's a spouse or children or a work relationship or a friendship or being a daughter or being whatever, those things tend to be really important to us. They're certainly a priority for me. And we don't show up as our best selves when we haven't taken care of ourselves in the best way we can. So when we show up as our best selves in a relationship, that affects the relationship. It's just we can't help it. So if I haven't slept enough and if I've just eaten food that's heavy and not energizing and I haven't drank any water at all and I haven't been moving for like 5 years or 10 years like me, I'm not going to show up as my best self in an argument or even in when I have an opportunity to be extra kind or extra loving. It's just not going to be my best. And because relationships are important to us as human beings, because we are creatures that need connection, then also that's one of I would throw that in as one of the good side effects of taking care of yourself and prioritizing yourself and your health and your mental well-being and your physical well-being is to actually have flourishing relationships. I think that's just something I wanted to share.
Totally, totally agree. Totally agree. And it actually improves your own relationship with yourself,
Absolutely.
because you start really everything in your body starts working well. And when everything starts working well, your brain starts working well as well. And you start thinking thoughts that are more creative and that will push you forward instead of dwelling and, like thinking about things in a with guilt and all
Yes.
those feelings that bring us backwards instead of forwards.
Yes, I love this conversation. I really enjoyed it. And what I really love, because I guess that really just suits me, is that when you presented these things, you didn't even call it exercise, you call it moving. And by the way, that after that experience with realizing that I don't have time to exercise, I realized I just don't like the word exercise. And that was my problem. So for 15 years, I was just resistant, rebellious to the word exercise. When I realized that and I owned it, and I realized I was just making excuses, I was in a position to realize, okay, what do I like instead? And I like the idea of just moving. Tell me to move. And I can just do it, like you just said, right here in my chair. I can just move a little bit. Tell me to move and I'll move. But tell me to exercise, something just doesn't work for me. And so you called it exercise. And you even called it breathing. You didn't even call it meditation, which it can be. But meditation, for some reason, still, because of the way it's maybe presented or mispresented, people still think there's a good or bad or right or wrong. And of course, there isn't, because anything you do in meditation is perfect exactly as you do it. But because people, not everybody knows that, then just simplifying it and calling it breathing actually makes it more doable. So, guys, do whatever is doable to you. Call things in whatever way is doable to you. Don't complicate it. Things are far simpler than we sometimes make them. Yeah, well, I think we've come to an end. We don't have questions. That must mean that we've had really good content that was very clear. So nobody has any questions. That's great. We will be available. Well, Mona will be available to maybe answer questions, Mona, if somebody writes them in on the replay, because sometimes people don't watch live. Then they
Sure.
watch yeah. So if you guys want to ask Mona questions, feel free to put them in the comments. You can tag her. And Mona, what I'd like you to do as well, because I want people to be able to connect with you directly, if they would like to, is if you could, after we close, if you could go to the video and just stick your social media links there. So if anybody wants to reach out to you,
I will.
on Facebook, I think you're Mona Mandour Coaching. On Instagram, you're mona.mandour.coach. But yeah, if you can put them in the chat or in the comments, that would be great. And guys, reach out to Mona if you need any help related to these things. She's obviously great at what she does. And I've really enjoyed this today. I guess it's funny because I didn't know I have a passion about talking about health and fitness as well. I guess it's because I've kind of just recently improved my journey. So I guess that's what gave me more to talk about. Probably if this was like a month ago, I'd kind of be like, oh, I'm not doing any of that. But I guess I have a bit of a success story to share. So, and yeah, I feel alive. I really feel much more alive. And we are here to live, right? So let's live.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Rania. Really,
Thank you, thank
I
you, thank
really
you.
enjoyed the chat so much,
Yeah.
and I
What?
think we're like on the same wavelength. And I liked our conversations, and I really hope that, actually, if I may suggest that if anyone starts applying any of these tips, to just write in the comments and let
Yeah.
us know uh, how that worked. So that would be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, that's a great idea. Just pick any of these things that you want to start tomorrow and, or whenever. I'm not telling you when to start. It's up to you. Start today if you want. But pick something that
Yeah,
that resonated with you and maybe let us know because you'll inspire each other. Let us know, hey, I did that and
yes,
I like that and I'm going to do that again. And then, and you don't have to do everything at once. You could just pick one thing and then add on to it, add another
just
thing and then add another thing, right? Yeah. Great.
just one
Wonderful. Thank
thing
you.
would be.
Yes. So for now, maybe you just choose this week to, adjust your sleep schedule. And then maybe whenever you're ready,
Yeah,
a week later or 2 weeks later, whatever, you want to start adjusting, having different things to eat pre-planned sort of so that you don't, eat unhealthy stuff. And then maybe you want to start the whole breathing practice. It's all a practice
maybe.
anyway. And you can
Yeah,
start whenever you
maybe
want.
some salutations, maybe stretches,
Yeah.
maybe just drinking more water. So
Yeah.
just, if you guys could pick any one thing and write it down, that would be a nice step to start from.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for the suggestion. And thank you for your time. And I
Thank you.
hope we will have another time to chat. Otherwise, I'll definitely see you on Clubhouse, I think, because
Yes,
you're often
yes.
there. A lot of times I see you there. So, yeah, we'll connect again. Thanks a lot. Have
Thank
a
you,
great
Rania, so much.
evening.
And thank you for the whole team. And I'll see you soon.
Yes. And bye, everybody who's joining us. And bye, everybody who's watching
Bye.
today. Bye bye.